Our next guest on Let's Talk is Viola Turner and Valerie Peoples of Colors with a Cause, Colors for a Cause, Colors for a Cause. And Colors for a Cause is a nonprofit agency
Yes, sir.
Dedicated to awareness of gun violence and organ donation.
Yes, sir.
And I assume those two go together because organ donation is obviously sometimes critical in the wake of gun violence.
Yes, very much so.
So welcome to Let's Talk, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Viola, I know this was a personal cause for you.
Yes,
Colors with a Cause is your creation in Northeast Arkansas. It's a national nonprofit agency, but it was not in Jonesboro until Viola Turner started it. And it started with a personal touch. Can you please tell us what your experience was?
Yes, sir. It was my own personal tragedy. At the time, I lost my son, Andrew Spencer Jr. He was my oldest child, and at the time, he was attending college, and he was the first male in our college, in our family, to attend a 4-year university. So his future looked bright. He was going to school for pediatric nursing, getting ready to get married to his high school sweetheart. We was planning a wedding, and then all of a sudden, I had to turn around and begin to plan a funeral.
And that is about as sad a situation as anyone can ever have to face. And you have used that as not a cause to give up or to be bitter, but to do things to impact others' lives and to help us all to be good to mankind. And that's a blessing and a grace that we're all honored to be around.
Yes.
And Valerie, you too, I'm sure, have personal interest in wanting to be part of this program. You're on the board of directors.
Yes,
And
yes, I am.
what motivated you to join Colors for a Cause?
Well, I had a personal incident as well. I had a nephew that was killed by gun violence. I had a son-in-law that was also killed by gun violence. And, you know, just to talk about it and get it out there and make the kids that's coming up behind the ones that we already lost, let them know that, you know, we don't have to resort to violence, you know, using guns, using any type of weapon. So that's why I got on her board and wanted to bag her 100%, you know, to help her get the awareness out.
That's very nice. It's fabulous. And I want, it's not about me, but I also want to add that I have had a niece who was killed while babysitting on an accidental gun discharge at the age of 18. And so this is a passion for a lot of people out there who probably are mostly silent and often suffering. But what you guys have done has lifted
The cloud, that dark cloud. And one thing that God spoke into my spirit, you must change. Go to schools. You can make a change. You don't have to allow what happened to you to take control over your life. What can you do with this tragedy and to turn it into something positive? And God reminded me, I have given you for your ashes, I have given you beautiness for your ashes. And I always work with the youth, even in Memphis. I will open up my home for Bible study. I was known as the Bible study teacher in the neighborhood. And Abba friends, oh my goodness, they can come to my home and get refreshed and talk to me about different subjects that they felt fear to talk about their parents, feeling that they would be judged. And so I just thank God just for giving me that heart. Even before this tragedy even happened, I had a passion all the time for the youth.
Is that the common key, you think, Valerie, the passion for youth?
The passion for youth. I think, well, they say the children are the future. So let's not teach them while they're young. You know, the Bible always talk about train up a child in the way they should go. And then when they get old, they won't depart. Some kids not getting trained. Some kids they're not getting taught. There's a lot of misuse going on, you know, in different families. So I do believe that God sent us, you know, it's Sister Viola and then myself, and then we have another sister, Sister Ellen. All three of us, you know, He put us together So we could go out and
We travel around Arkansas to
all
public
Arkansas.
schools raising awareness concerning gun violence. And then God gave me a vision to do a pledge, and it's called I Promise Blanket. And I designed each blanket in the color of each school, and they take the pledge, and it talks about how I promise to use my eyes and my ears to protect my school and my community. You know, so yes, every school, the first school to take the pledge was Netterton School,
Okay.
and the ladies of the extension and the gentlemen of the knowledge, they have partnered with me, and they go out with me when I go out and raise awareness concerning to gun violence.
So do you go to high schools? Where
High
do you
schools,
start? In high schools?
elementary, I go from kindergarten on up.
Is that right?
Yes, and you will be so amazed because I just did an event at Jeff Wall December the 2nd. Oh my God, you will be amazed from kindergarten to the second grade. They know where the guns are. They are smart guys. They know where the guns are. And I went as far as asking, how many of you guys have even touched the gun since you know where they are? I'll say at least 40% of those kids raised their hands.
Is that right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's a
They're very
scary
curious.
fact. Well, of course they are. And but that's a scary reality.
It is.
to
It was
think
very
that
scary to hear.
We almost need an educational course for adults.
yes, yes.
But you talk to these kids. So you're saying at the age of 5, 6, 7, these kids have touched guns. They're aware of them, and they're very knowledgeable about what they're dealing with. So, what difference? Can you talk about a little bit about the difference in the way you approach kids at the elementary level and maybe the middle school or high school level?
Yes, sir. I get on their level. Like, I kind of talk to them about, like, I remember I lost my first cousin. Her sister ended up every weekend. The sister and her would go over to the grandfather's house in Mississippi. And at the time that it happened, one was 9 and the other was 10. And so they would go over and play with the gun. The gun would be up under the mattress, and they knew where it was. And so the older sister would take the gun from under the mattress, and they would play around with it. But this particular day, something different happened. She ended up dropping the gun, and the gun went off, and it shot her. I think it was in the temple. I know it was in the head area, but I don't quite remember where. But I know it was in the head area, and she passed away.
Oh my gosh.
So when we went out and we did camp, we took Elmo to the kindergarten.
Yes, we
We
did.
took Elmo and hand puppets. And we talked to him, you know, as a little skit, you know, what would Elmo do if he found a gun, or, you know.
Like Elmo from Sesame Street?
Yes.
Yes.
And then last for the event for Jeff Wall, we had Caillou and we had the Ninja Turtle. Michelangelo went out with us. Oh man, they had a fit. They had a ball.
Is that right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous.
And they was asking so many questions, guys. You guys wouldn't believe they was asking so many questions. They was very involved.
So that's if you find a way to engage them through something they know, through one of
They're
their
familiar
characters,
with. You're gonna
they
pull
can
them right
talk
on
about
in.
what types of questions would they ask?
They asked what kind. They want to know like different names of guns. They want to know if I go, who would be the person that I needed to talk to if I found a gun. If I knew of a situation that my friend was into at home with touching a gun, but I don't have a gun at home. These are the questions, these are the statements and stuff that they were making. Like, I don't have a gun at home, but my best friend, his mom or her sister, they have guns, you know, their parents have guns in the home, and they told me that they have touched the guns and different illustrations like that. Like, we would do certain skits. Like one year at KIP, I had my daughter to come out. And I told a story if she was traveling home from school. And she had on her book pack, and it was a gun in a brown paper bag. And I'm standing telling the story, and she goes to walking across, and she looks down that day. Something different happened. She looks down that day, and she picks up the bag. And so she was wondering what was in the bag because the bag felt kind of heavy. So she put her hand in the bag, and it was a gun. And so she ends up, she thinks for a minute because she knows that her mother has already taught her never to touch a gun, loaded or unloaded. So she still pulls out the gun, pauses for a minute because she thinks about what the mother and the father has told her, and still end up firing the gun.
Because it's that intrigue without the maturity.
Yes.
I understand. So now then, when you're dealing with high school students, it's a whole different ballgame because now they are curious, they are feeling their oats a little bit in the world, and
We talk about gangs, how being involved in gangs can relate to gun violence. We talk about bullying. Like Nettleton with Miss Bird, like I said, with her organization that she has, the Ladies of Distinction, the Gentlemen of Knowledge, we're doing a campaign, getting ready to do a campaign. We already on videotaped about how bullying can turn into gun violence. And I gave an illustration of what I went through in high school, that this young lady, I was afraid of her from middle school on up. And one day I went into the bathroom and she was in there and she started talking about my hair. That's something that she would always do all the time. And I was just really scared of her. And she pushed me that day, and it was just all that rage and fear that was inside of me, it just took over. And I just picked her up and I threw her on the floor. So that could have just easily turned into gun violence. I could have got my mother's gun from at home, and at that time, yes, I knew where it was.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, and that's the other side of the gun violence is when you get to a certain age and some kids, particularly those who may not have as strong parental or guidance and the leadership of even just an older brother or sister that can get involved with. I also have experience with that. I coached a youth ball team, and one of my best kids wound up with some people who committed a murder, and he was charged along with them, and that's a life thrown away. That's a life, and I would vouch to a judge that this is a good kid and who did a bad thing and
made a wrong decision
and is paying for it with the rest of his life.
Yeah. And I know, like for me, for experience with myself, it doesn't matter what color of your skin or what neighborhood you're from or how much money you got in the bank. It affects all ethics of background. And like Abba was raised in Shelby County, not in the city of Memphis. And I was like, the neighborhood that we stayed in, we had VIPs that stayed across the street from us, business owners, very prominent, positive people. But yet we still had gangs in the neighborhood. We still had drug dealers in the neighborhood. We still had shooting in the neighborhood. This was in between Olive Branch and Collierville is where we stayed at. And some of those things were still there.
I believe you.
And my son was approached concerning to being in a gang when he was in the 8th grade. It seemed like they target them when they like in that between trying to make a choice.
Right. That's right. That's how they know how to operate, and it's something that everyone should be aware of. And I thank you guys for your service and your commitment to raising that awareness in Jonesboro and the surrounding area in the state of Arkansas.
Yes, sir.
And I'm so grateful for you to visit with us on Let's Talk Jonesboro.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.